This is a well-known Buddhist drawing, the Wheel of Samsara. What the pictures in it describe are the answers to the questions above. The whole wheel of birth and death is controlled by a ferocious monster. This monster with tusks is the ruler of Samsara, commonly referred as the king of hell. But what is his true face? Why the birth and the death of all beings are controlled by him? How does he handle beings' birth and death? In whose hand is then his death? The big wheel tells us the way to recognize the situation that we are in. The 21 frames answer the questions of why and how. We fall into this painful and pitiful situation. In addition, it also provides the answers to following questions. What makes us do good and evil things? What are the six realms? What is the cycling of cause and effect? The picture in the center of the wheel reveals the essential reason. There are three animals in the picture: swine, snake, and pigeon. Swine represents innate ignorance or foolishness. This ignorance not only leads to the inability to understand the truth of phenomena, but also the active misunderstanding of the truth of everything, including our physical and spiritual self. Wrongly believe that everything exists in a more definitive form than what it naturally is. Without knowing the true nature of everything, we are easily driven by ignorance, coming into fondness to what we like. The fondness is represented by a pigeon. Furthermore, to what we dislike or obstruct our desires, we come into a feeling of hatred. Hatred is represented by a snake. These three afflictions, ignorance, craving, and hatred, are called the three poisons because they twist the appearance of our nature. These three afflictions are controlling our behavior and outcome all the time. These three afflictions are just the essential factors that make us cycling in samsara of birth and death all the time. The two semicircles enclosing the center represent the white karma and black karma, or the good karma and the evil karma, originated from the three poisons of craving, hatred, and ignorance. People in the black semicircle are busy with producing evil karma. They are facing downwards, which signifies that evil karma will bring them into lower levels of life. People in the white semicircle are conducting good actions. They are facing upward, which signifies that good karma will raise them into higher good level. The six realms resulted from doing good and evil things are represented by the six illustrations enclosing two semicircles. Every realm of the six is in the state of rotating all the time. So the whole wheel is basically divided into two parts. The three illustrations on the top represent the three good realms of heavenly beings, Asuras, and human beings. The three illustrations on the bottom represent the three evil realms of animal, hungry ghost, and hell. However, none of the six realms is beyond cycling in samsara of birth and death. On the top is the realm of heavenly beings. The residents here enjoy their lives of happiness and longevity. They were born in the realm of heaven because of the good karma they produced in their past lives. Once their reward are consumed completely, they will still fall into the other five realms below, and most likely into the three evil realms. When their lives are about to end, they realize that they will be reborn in painful realms because they have indulged themselves in enjoyment but haven't accumulated any merits. This perseverance will make them feel extremely grieved. To the right of the realm of heavenly being is the realm of Asuras. Look carefully. Trees full of fruits grow on their land. There is an Asura holding an axe, trying to cut down the tree for the fruits. However, the fruit is within the realm of heavenly beings. No matter how much effort this Asura makes, he is not able to get the fruit produced from his own land. But the heavenly beings are enjoying the food produced from the land of Asuras. This causes Asuras a great hatred of the heavenly being and endless wars between them. The realm of human being is located in the upper left corner in the wheel. Being in this realm must suffer pains of hunger, thirst, coldness, hotness, separation from their loved ones, invasion by enemies, etc. They cannot attain what they desire. They cannot avoid what they do not want. Moreover, human beings also have to suffer ceaseless torment of birth, aging, illness, and death. This illustration includes various types of human activities, from butchering animals to practicing Buddhism. These totally different activities indicate that lives of human beings can be changed through receiving educations. From this perspective of view, although the heavenly beings are nobler and happier, they do not have the chance to change their lives, which only the human beings have. The realm of human beings is a mixture of happiness and sadness. Although there are sufferings, but not extreme ones. The sufferings are just sufficient to inspire people to make changes. This is very important. On the lower half of the wheel, we see a realm of animals on the right. What makes the being of this realm suffer is that their existences are often only for sustaining others. To the left of the realm of animal is the realm of hungry ghosts. The major things that make beings of this realm suffer are hunger and thirst. They keep looking for food and water all the time. But not only can't they find any food, they even can't hear the names of food and water. They have huge bellies and stomachs, but their throats are so small and so thin that they can only swallow a tiny bit of food. Even if they could find a little bit food to eat, the food will burn from the throat down to the bottom of the stomach. The illustration on the bottom shows the realm of hell, including 8 burning hells, 8 cold hells, lesser hells, and the unremitting hell. The horrible scenes in hells point out a lesson that we never really learn. We should avoid acting on impulse of fondness and hatred, because that will make us fall into the situation that can never be recovered. We cannot use concrete images to describe the entire situation in the sex realms. A well-known Indian scholar, Master Lotus Vinaya, who visited Tibet in the 8th century AD, said that we should not think being of each realm, only undergo sufferings belonging to that realm. In fact, lives of human beings already contain all kinds of suffering of the six realms. Now we understand that originally caused by afflictions of ignorance represented by three animals in the center, we sink into the sea of good and evil karma, represented by two semicircles in the second tier. Starting from here, our karma drives us cycling eternally within the six realms, represented by six illustrations in the third tier. But we have to ask, in which process does samsara take place? And what kind of cause and effect is involved in samsara? In the fourth tier, the outmost 12 illustrations describe this process for us in detail. They are called illustrations of 12 niranas, origins. They explain the cause and effect that keeps lives trapped in samsara. Before going into details, let's first have a look at what the 12 niranas involve. Samsara starts with avidya, ignorance. Ignorance motivates samskara, formations. After formation ends, the produced impression in mind is called consciousness of cause. Consciousness of effect is the incarnation resulted from consciousness of cause. Between them, there could be a very long time interval. The start of a new life is called nama rupa, name and form. Name and form will develop into sadayatana, six sense bases. This is the gradual development of imro. After the body forms sparsha, contact will be developed. Contact develops into vedana, feeling. Feeling develops into tanha, craving. Craving develops into upadana, clinging. Clinging develops into bhava, becoming. Becoming is the last phase before the end of this life and the beginning of next life. Becoming develops into jati, birth. The next life starts from birth. Birth develops into jara marana, aging and death. The first nidana, ignorance, is represented by a blind, crippled old man with a stick. Using an old man as representative because samsara has no beginning. Blind is because he cannot see the truth of being and existence. With a stick is because although ignorance can cause many sufferings, but none of them has a solid base. And just because ignorance is not based on any truth, it can naturally be destroyed by wisdom. Ignorance can be divided into two types. One is called innate ignorance. It is the ignorance that leads to misperception of the truth of phenomena. The other one is called derivative ignorance. It is the ignorance that leads to misperceptions of the cycle of cause and effect or the karmic retribution and reward. In the second illustration, the second nidana, formation, is represented by a potter making ceramics. The potter takes clay to make new utensils. Once the potter starts the rotating plate, the plate will rotate continuously by itself without much effort. Likewise, once sentient being make karmas, mind stream will be seeded into their consciousness. The mind stream can propagate unstoppably until the effects appear. A monkey is used to represent the third nidana, consciousness. The clever and active monkey can represent the agile character of consciousness very well. Among the 12 niranas, consciousness can be divided into two types, consciousness of cause and consciousness of effect. The concept of consciousness of cause already starts to point out the importance of deathbed confession and realizing souls from purgatory. Make every effort not to let your mind stream become the driving force towards evil realm of your last moment. But for most people at their last moments, the mind stream that shows up is very often the strong cling to their wealth, affection, reputation, power, etc. Among the 12 niranas that we talked about, the first two and a half niranas, namely ignorance, formation, and consciousness of cause, can happen in any of our past lives. These three are called driving causes because they are the main factors that determine your current life pattern. Having understood the first two and a half niranas that determine our life patterns, it is much easier to talk about the next seven and a half niranas that occur in our current lives and the last two niranas that occur in our next lives because they mostly happen in our daily lives and they are closer to us and easier to understand. The consciousness of effect only exists for a very short time. It only lasts until the moment before the arising of the fourth nidana, name and form. Name and form is represented by a man in a boat. Nemo refers to the gathering of four mental elements of the new life: sensation, cognition, formation, and consciousness. Form refers to the gathering of physical elements. Mental elements of a life are in the boat of physical elements. This constructs a complete form of life, which is the start of body and mind. The whole time of embryo development until the formation of the five sense organs belongs to Nemo and form. The formation of the five sense organs matures the fifth nidana, six sense bases, represented by six windows of an empty room. Six sense bases refer to the six roots of eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, and mind. The six roots are the places where the six consciousness, vision, hearing, olfaction, taste, touch, and thought reside. Based on the six roots, the six consciousness sense the six external objects, namely shape and color, sound, scent, flavor, physical feeling, and mental presentation. When the six sense bases that can sense external objects starts to function, the sixth nidana, contact, meaning touching or sense impression, will happen naturally. In the illustration, contact is represented by the touching between a man and a woman. Generally speaking, this illustration in fact signifies a state of separation. The seventh nidana, sensation, is represented by an arrow plugging into one's eye. The vivid representation illustrates the fact that sensation is the central part of our daily life. The deepness of the arrow plugging into the eye represents the degrees that pleasure and pain control our lives. The eighth nidana, craving, refers to a life coming into attachment because of feeling. The difference between pain and pleasure. Craving is represented by a group of people having banquet. It shows that people tend to having pleasure and avoiding pain and are unwilling to reduce their possessions. We become able to feel craving and attachment when we were still in the womb. For example, an attachment to toys as kids, to attachment to career and love after grown-ups. But what the craving of the 12 niranas stresses on is mainly the fondness that can grow the energy of karma and drive the next life. The ninth nidana, clinging, is a stronger attachment to fondness. In the illustration, it is represented by a person picking fruits on the trees, just like the lyrics of a song. Love till it hurts. The heart makes me cry. I cry too tired. On each page of my diary, recorded all good about you like an addicting poison. It hits me again and again. Craving and clinging may happen at every single moment of our lives, transforming current effects caused by the karma of ignorance in past lives into the potential energy of the cause and effect of future lives again. The 10th nidana, becoming, is the mature karmic force produced by craving and clinging. It happens at the last moment of current life. It is able to call the effects of the next life. In the illustration, it is represented by a man and woman having sex, signifying the karmic causes nourished by craving and clinging have already transformed into the potential karmic force totally, and is able to call the effects of next life at any time. Simply speaking, becoming means unchangeable results. Let's first come back to the 12th Nidana. We will talk about the matter of how to go beyond samsara after that. If we are less confident in going beyond samsara, the 10th Nidana, becoming, which is the potential karmic force that can call the effects of next life at one's last moment, will come into function and cause the 11th Nidana, birth, to happen. Birth refers to a new life, represented by a woman giving birth in the illustration. Among the 12 Nidanas, birth refers to the instant moment of impregnation, but not the moment when the fetus leaves the mother's body. With birth, there is naturally aging and death, the 12th Nidana, which stands for decay and destruction, represented by an old man shouldering a heavy load in the illustration. The 12th Nidana start with an blind old man, then return to an old man with a heavy load. This really makes us feel that how unbearably blind and hard the life process is. Let's review the process of the cycle of samsara once more. Our innate ignorance induces craving and hatred. These three poisons cause the conduction of good and evil karmic activities. The good and evil karmic activities will further call samsara in the six realms. Samsara is based on the 12 nidanas. The first nidana, ignorance, activates the second nidana, formation. The impressions produced in mind after formation end is called the consciousness of cause. Consciousness of effect is the incarnation brought about by consciousness of cause. Consciousness of cause and consciousness of effect are collectively called consciousness. It is the third nidana. The beginning of a new life is called nema and form. It is the fourth nidana. Name and form will develop into the fifth nidana, six sense bases. This is the development of the embryo. After the body forms, the sixth nidana, contact, is developed. Contact leads to seventh nidana, sensation. Sensation leads to the eighth nidana, craving. Craving leads to the ninth nidana, clinging. Clinging develops into 10th nidana, becoming, which is the last phase before the next life starts. Becoming leads to the 11th nidana, birth. The next life starts with birth. Birth further leads to the 12th nidana, aging and death. Why can't we get released from samsara? From the hands of the ferocious monster, the ruler of death. Who is the ruler of death? In fact, as we interpret the wheel of samsara, we realize that the six realms keep rotating. The arising of all the 12 niranas have a common base, that is self-grasping, holding the concept of self, which is just the innate ignorance manifested as foolishness. No matter whether you were a human or a bird before, or some other being, there is a powerful self-grasping going through our lives. The ruler of death is just self-grasping. But anyway, once we eradicate self-grasping, the ruler of samsara will no longer exist. We will naturally reach the realm of peace as described by the Buddha. All phenomena are impermanence, all things lack self. Enter nirvana, return to tranquil. Sakyamuni Buddha also appeared as a mortal man a long time ago, also cycling around in samsara like us. This mortal man finally went beyond samsara, and he also taught the way to leave pains to beings that want to get released from suffering. The Buddha does not force us to follow his teachings. He is just saying, I am an experienced person. I had been undergoing the sufferings that you have now as well. Then I got released from suffering, and my way to achieve that is so and so. If you also want to get released from suffering, you only need to walk along the same road. In the Jewel Nature Treatise, when Bodhisattva Maitreya interprets the Four Noble Truths, suffering, origin of suffering, cessation of suffering, path that leads to the cessation of suffering, expounded by Sakyamuni Buddha, he uses a very appropriate parable to explain it. For a patient, from getting ill, doing diagnosis, taking medicine to becoming healthy again, the doctor's treatment goes in 4 steps. First, one must know the nature of the disease. 2. One must cut off the cause of the disease. Third, giving medicine. 4. The medicine takes effect and cures the patient. About the Four Noble Truths that give perfect interpretations to the sufferings of our life and provide detailed methods to get released from the miserable samsara. We have already understood the part of suffering and the origin of suffering. The gathering of 12 niranas originated from ignorance and self-grasping, leads to the miserable result of samsara. The cause of samsara is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. The effect is the noble truth of suffering. The way that samsara works is the ceaselessly cycling of the 12 niranas caused by the 3 poisons, craving, anger, and ignorance. Then, what's the method to go beyond samsara? We cannot find the answer inside the wheel of birth and death, but to the upper left of the wheel of birth and death. Sakyamuni Buddha points to a passage of sutra and a full moon with his hand, telling us the way to go beyond samsara and to reach the free, peaceful destination. The sutra that he points to means follows: Thou should seek relief, receive this Buddha's teaching. With persistence, firm aspiration, follow this dharma. Like elephant raising thatched hut, destroy the ruler of death. Leave the wheel of birth and death, eradicate suffering till none left. This passage of sutra teaches us to be clearly aware of the suffering of samsara in the 6th realm and to raise the aspiration to go beyond it. Practice dharma that the Buddha expounds, namely the threefold training, virtue, mind, and wisdom, that one can destroy affliction and suffering, like the giant elephant destroying a thatched hut. Further, subdue the ruler of death, self-grasping, and get released from the bitter seas of samsara of the 6 realms. This is the noble truth of the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. It is the cause of attaining the peace of nirvana, and the effect is the cessation of suffering. The cessation of suffering is signified by a full moon representing the realm of relief, free of suffering. The Buddha above the wheel has already gone beyond samsara since a long time ago, reached the peaceful realm of nirvana. It brings hope into the whole drawing. The goal of making this drawing is not only to pass the knowledge of the process of samsara, but also to ask us to make the best of this knowledge, to lead and improve our lives. This must be a day. Your ruler of death, the self-grasping, is destroyed by your wisdom and compassion. Your life will become more splendid because of your choices. Your future is in your hands.